When 23 alien cadets were dropped into Verdania's jungle with nothing but basic gear, they expected to starve. They didn't expect the human cadet to calmly announce Day 3. Everyone still breathing? That's progress while building a fully equipped survival camp overnight. This is what happens when a species evolved for predation meets galactic survival training. The Galactic Academy's survival course deposited 23 individuals from distinct species into the Verdania jungle with nothing but standard-issue field kits. Each cadet represented a different physiological and psychological response to extreme conditions, yet all shared the programmed apprehension that came with the exercise known officially as Final Sequence Adaptation Protocol. Crix 9, a veteran of 14 full training cycles, noted the familiar signs of systemic stress among the group. Elevated respiratory rates, agitated limb movements, the sharp scent of alarm pheromones cutting through the humid air. Verdania itself was a lesson in persistent hostility. The atmosphere hung thick with moisture that clung to every surface, while pollen clouds drifted through the canopy like silent biological agents. Movement in the undergrowth suggested constant observation. Predator calls echoed from multiple directions, some low and guttural, others high-pitched and probing. Among the group, Tambor's carapace rattled with nervous energy. Zara Lynn's dual-set eyes scanned in alternating patterns, unable to settle on a single threat. Nick 7 remained unnervingly still, a common stress response for its species. Velt Prime emitted a low-frequency hum of distress. They were thinkers, diplomats, scientists, beings accustomed to controlled environments and civilized discourse. Then there was the human. Jake Morrison checked his gear with a methodical calm that bordered on irreverence. He hummed. He tested the edge of his multi-tool against his thumb. When the first predator roar shook the trees, he didn't startle. He just looked up, nodded slightly, and went back to arranging his pack. The alien cadets interpreted every rustle, every shadow, as intentional aggression. Their cultural programming was clear. Predation equaled hostility. Elimination of threat equaled survival. They could not yet perceive the jungle as a system of checks and balances, of territorial disputes and nutritional needs. Their thinking was binary. Their chances of lasting 7 days under those assumptions were statistically negligible. Jake moved among them like a technician troubleshooting faulty hardware. He adjusted grip on a hydroscanner here, demonstrated proper footing on slick roots there. His advice was practical, unemotional. Don't eat the red berries. Sleep above the ground. Not on it. His presence created a dissonance, a being who should have been the most vulnerable, acting as though he were the most prepared. By the end of the first day, the group had consumed half their ration bars. Morale decayed with the fading light. No one had successfully identified an edible plant. No one had secured a reliable water source. The stage was perfectly arranged for a textbook failure, a case study in cross-species incompatibility with high-stress environments. They were a collection of specialized instruments trying to function in an environment that required a completely different kind of tool. Without a fundamental shift in strategy, the outcome was already written. Jake Morrison checked his waterproof chronometer with the methodical precision of a technician reviewing engine diagnostics. The action itself was unremarkable, a standard equipment check. His tone, however, created immediate cognitive dissonance. Day 3, he announced, as if reading a shipping manifest. Everyone still breathing? That's progress. Around him, the other cadets exhibited textbook stress responses. Tambor's mandibles clicked in agitated rhythm. Zara Lynn's respiratory vents pulsed at double their normal rate. Nick 7's chromatophores flickered through stress patterns. They were operating on emergency protocols, conserving energy, minimizing movement. Standard survival doctrine. Jake remained the anomaly. He moved with purposeful economy rather than fearful conservation. His vocal pattern showed no strain modulation. His posture suggested readiness rather than retreat. To the alien cadets, this calm represented either profound ignorance or dangerous insanity. Their cultures measured stress through biochemical markers and visible tells. Jake exhibited neither. His assessment of their situation reframed their entire reality. They had expected daily progress reports based on resource acquisition, territory secured, threats neutralized. Jake's metric was simpler, sustained biological function. Breathing constituted adequate performance. This wasn't the grading rubric they'd studied. The human began a systematic inventory of their remaining supplies. noting consumption rates with clinical detachment. He compared their water expenditure against estimated local availability. He calculated caloric deficits against potential foraging yields. His movements were deliberate, unhurried. He worked while others conserved. Tambor finally voiced the collective confusion. Your vital signs show no elevation. Your species does not experience stress response. Jake didn't look up from sorting ration bars. We experience it. We just don't let it run the show. He tapped his temple. The hardware's the same. Different operating system. This statement hung in the humid air. They were beginning to understand that human psychology wasn't about absence of fear, but about compartmentalization. Their training emphasized suppressing stress responses. Jake's approach suggested integrating them into operational planning. He demonstrated by assigning watch rotations based on each species' circadian rhythms and sensory advantages. He positioned Nix 7 for night watch despite its protest about predator activity. Your low-light vision is 12 times better than mine, Jake noted. Makes you the logical choice. The statement carried no emotional weight, pure tactical assessment. The alien cadets watched him construct a solar still from salvaged materials. No frantic movements. No wasted energy. Each action served multiple purposes: water collection, material organization, demonstration of technique. He explained the process in straightforward mechanical terms, as if teaching basic maintenance. They were witnessing the first concrete evidence of human operational competence. Not theoretical knowledge from briefings, but applied survival intelligence. Jake moved through the jungle's challenges like an engineer troubleshooting faulty systems, identifying problems, proposing solutions, implementing repairs. His confidence came not from ignorance of danger, but from proven methodology. The realization slowly dawned that his cheerful demeanor wasn't denial. It was focus. The human brain, they observed, could maintain computational efficiency while disregarding non-essential emotional data. A terrifying capability, an invaluable one. Jake finished his water purification demonstration and surveyed their makeshift camp. Right, now let's talk about dinner. He said it with the same tone he'd used for all other announcements, as if discussing scheduled maintenance. The alien cadets exchanged glances. For the first time, their stress indicators actually decreased. The creature emerged from the canopy shadow without preliminary warning. 600 kilograms of armored flesh moving at attack velocity. Horns like polished obsidian swept low, aimed to impale. The alien cadets reacted according to their training protocols. Tambor's defensive carapace segments locked into shield formation. Zara Lynn's secondary arms deployed vibration blades. Nix 7 initiated evasive pattern gamma. Standard threat response doctrine. Jake Morrison remained motionless. His hands stayed clear of his tools. His posture showed no defensive tension. He tilted his head slightly, studying the charging creature with the detached interest of an engineer assessing unfamiliar machinery. Interesting horn configuration, he noted, voice flat. Asymmetric placement suggests display function rather than combat optimization. The statement disrupted the cadets' tactical preparations. Their databases categorized all horned species as aggression specialized. Combat manuals recommended immediate neutralization of such threats. Jake's analysis suggested alternative interpretation. Look at the wear patterns, he continued, still not moving. Ground abrasion on the left hind. Vegetation stains on the right. This isn't a hunting implement. It's a territory marker. The creature skidded to a halt meters away, armored plates rattling. It sniffed the air, pupils dilating. Instead of reaching for weapons, Jake slowly unclipped a nutrition bar from his belt. He broke the seal with deliberate slowness, the creature's head tracking the movement. Hungry, aren't you? Jake's tone remained conversational. Territory defense burns calories. He extended the bar on his open palm. No protective glove. No defensive posture. The alien cadets maintained combat readiness. Their training emphasized that feeding predators reinforced aggressive behavior. Standard galactic doctrine classified such actions as dangerous anthropomorphism. Jake's approach violated 7 separate survival protocols. The creature leaned forward, nostrils flaring. It sniffed the offering, then consumed the bar in a single precise movement. The aggressive tension drained from its stance. Armor plates relaxed. It emitted a low-frequency rumble that vibrated through the ground. Jake nodded. You're welcome, buddy. He made no sudden movements. The creature nudged his empty hand with its snout. then turned and vanished back into the jungle with the same suddenness it had arrived. The clearing fell silent except for the drip of condensation from leaves. Tambor's carapace remained locked in defensive mode. Zara Lynn's blade stayed deployed. They were processing the event through their established threat assessment frameworks. The data didn't align. Jake brushed nutrient residue from his hand. First contact protocol, always offer food before assuming hostility. He said it like quoting basic operational procedure. 60% of territorial species respond positively to caloric offerings. Better odds than armed confrontation. The alien cadets slowly disengaged their defenses. Their sensors confirmed the creature's biochemical signatures had shifted from aggression to satisfaction. Heart rate decreased. Muscle tension normalized. They had witnessed a predator reclassified through applied xenobiology. Jake checked his chronometer. We should relocate before its neighbors get curious about the food source. He shouldered his pack without apparent concern. The cadets followed, their threat assessment algorithms struggling to integrate the new data. They had been trained to see the jungle as a collection of threats to neutralize. Jake treated it as a system of negotiations. The encounter demonstrated a fundamental difference in operational philosophy. Where they saw binary combat decisions, Jake saw gradient responses. Where they prepared for elimination, he prepared for communication. The human approach to survival involved constant recalibration of relationships rather than permanent solutions. They moved through the undergrowth with renewed caution, but now their scans searched for different patterns, not just threat indicators but potential communication signals. Jake had reframed their entire understanding of interspecies interaction in a 7-minute encounter. The jungle suddenly contained possibilities beyond simple predator and prey. Tambor's carapace plates remained partially elevated, his defensive posture lingering even after the creature's departure. "You fed a confirmed predator," he stated, the translation software conveying his disbelief with perfect clarity. Galactic survival doctrine explicitly prohibits nutrient transfer to aggressive species. It reinforces hunting behavior. Zara Lynn's secondary arms retracted her vibration blades with a series of precise clicks. Standard protocols classify such actions as high-risk engagement. The creature could have interpreted the offering as weakness, as invitation. Jake finished wiping his hands on his trousers. "Standard first contact protocol," he replied, as if discussing routine maintenance procedures. "We run it whenever we meet something new." "Department requirement." He said it with the flat delivery of someone confirming warehouse inventory. The alien cadets exchanged glances. Their training emphasized threat neutralization, perimeter security, and avoidance protocols. The concept of first contact existed only in diplomatic contexts, requiring specialized teams and controlled environments. Not field operations, not survival scenarios. When in doubt, try being nice, Jake continued, adjusting his equipment harness. 60% success rate across documented first encounters. Better odds than shooting, which averages 22% positive outcomes in unknown biospheres. The number landed with concrete finality. 60%, not a vague philosophical concept but a statistical probability. A calculated risk assessment. Tambor's mandibles worked silently as he processed this. Their doctrine treated all unknown species as immediate threats until proven otherwise. Jake's approach treated them as potential allies until demonstrated hostile. "He means diplomatic operators sometimes carry food instead of weapons," Zara Lynn murmured to Nick 7, her dual eyes focusing on Jake with new analytical interest. "Food is a weapon," Jake corrected, overhearing. "Just a different kind. Cheaper than ammunition. Fewer cleanup issues." He gestured toward the path the creature had taken. "That one will remember the meal. Next time we cross paths, it might just ask instead of charge." Velprime's low-frequency hum shifted from anxiety to contemplation. "Your species approaches unknown organisms with calibrated hospitality rather than defensive positioning. Easier to de-escalate after offering food than after firing lasers," Jake said. "One method leaves options open. The other burns bridges. Literally sometimes." The alien cadets began accessing their cultural databases on human behavior. The files were notably sparse on field operations, heavy on historical conflicts and social structures. They contained no references to standardized first contact protocols for individual operators, no statistical success rates for nutritional diplomacy. Jake watched them process the information. Your manuals were written by academics who study survival. Ours were written by survivors who took notes. He scanned the tree line, his posture relaxed but observant. 60% isn't perfect, but it beats assuming everything wants to kill you. That assumption becomes self-fulfilling. The concept unfolded like unfamiliar machinery. They had been trained to see the jungle as a series of threats to manage. Jake saw it as a network of relationships to negotiate. His method required constant assessment, adaptability, and acceptance of partial failures. Their method sought absolute security through elimination of variables. Zara Lynn finally retracted her last blade. Your approach requires recalibration of threat assessment parameters. It treats aggression as communication rather than terminal hostility. Everything's communication, Jake said. Sometimes it's just saying, I'm hungry, or you're in my space. Doesn't always mean I want to eat you. They continued moving through the undergrowth. But now their sensor sweeps included nutritional analysis of vegetation, potential food sources, and behavioral observation patterns. Jake had effectively hacked their survival programming. The jungle transformed from a kill or be killed arena into a complex negotiation space. The human method involved constant low-stakes testing of relationships rather than binary combat decisions. It accepted that some encounters would fail, the 40%, but maintained that the overall strategy produced better long-term outcomes. A fundamentally different operating philosophy, one that leveraged hospitality as tactical advantage. Their rations depleted by the third day. The alien cadets' metabolic needs diverged sharply. Tambor required high-protein intake. Zara Lynn needed specific mineral compounds. Nick Seven's biology demanded frequent small meals. Standard survival doctrine offered no solutions for multi-species nutritional requirements in unsecured environments. Their scanners identified countless life forms, but none matched their dietary databases. Starvation became a mathematical certainty. Jake observed their failing energy levels with clinical detachment. Right, time for procurement. He said it like scheduling maintenance. The alien cadets assumed he meant foraging for vegetation. Their cultures largely obtained nutrition through cultivated sources or synthesized substitutes. The concept of direct sourcing from native fauna existed only in historical texts. The trick isn't finding food, Jake explained, scanning the canopy. It's finding the right food, specifically the right animal. He adjusted his multi-spectrum visor, filtering for specific biological signatures. We want herbivores, mid-level consumers, nothing that eats other meat eaters. Tambor's carapace plates shifted in confusion. Predator species contain higher protein concentrations. Standard nutritional analysis favors also higher toxin concentrations. Jake interrupted without looking away from his scans. Bioaccumulation. Predators eat everything their prey ate, plus whatever toxins the prey accumulated. You're eating the entire food chain. Bad practice in unknown biospheres. The concept struck them as both obvious and revolutionary. Their survival training emphasized calorie acquisition, not ecological analysis. They hunted based on size and accessibility. Jake hunted based on trophic positioning. He pointed toward a flock of avian creatures roosting in a nearby tree. Six-legged, feathered, about the size of terrestrial turkeys. Those perfect. His scanner displayed their diet analysis, primarily native berries and seeds. Low toxin levels. High protein yield. You intend to harvest those organisms? Zara Lynn's vocal modulation indicated discomfort. Her culture obtained protein through fungal cultivation. Earthbird, Jake said, as if identifying a common grocery item. Very popular food source. The name meant nothing to them. Their species databases contained no reference to Earthbird as a classification. He demonstrated field procurement with mechanical efficiency. No wasted motion. The snare construction used local materials. Vines for cordage, fallen branches for triggers. The design showed refinement through repetition. Aim for clean kills. No suffering. No wasted meat. He said it with the tone of quoting safety regulations. The alien cadets watched in silent fascination. Their culture separated food production from consumption through layers of processing and distribution. They purchased nutrition blocks from dispensers. They ordered synthesized meals from replicators. This direct conversion of life into sustenance seemed simultaneously primitive and hyper-efficient. Jake checked the wind direction, positioned the snares with geometric precision, and applied local vegetation to mask human scent. Every action served multiple purposes: capture, preservation, concealment. The process looked less like hunting and more like system optimization. Herbivores taste better anyway, he noted, finishing the last snare. Less stress hormones in the meat. Predator flesh tends to be tough, gamey. He used culinary terms they recognized from human cultural files, but applied to field operations. They realized human survival training didn't just teach how to find food. It taught how to evaluate entire ecosystems for nutritional efficiency. The methodology was scalable, adaptable, and brutally practical. It treated other species not as threats or companions, but as potential resources. This wasn't predation as aggression. It was predation as industrial sourcing. The snares stood ready, nearly invisible against the foliage. Jake checked his chronometer. Should have first results in about 2 hours. Multiple capture points increase yield probability. He spoke like a project manager reviewing production timelines. The alien cadets' hunger suddenly felt different, not just a biological need, but a logistical problem awaiting solution. They were witnessing the operational mindset of a species that had optimized the conversion of life into energy across thousands of worlds. The human approach to survival was fundamentally industrial in nature. Tambor's mandibles froze mid-click, a physiological response his species only exhibited during extreme cognitive shock. The number hung in the humid jungle air as if physically present. 23 billion, a quantity so vast it defied biological comprehension. The other cadets' sensory organs registered similar distress signals. Zara Lynn's dual pupils dilated unevenly. Nick Seven's chromatophores flashed rapid warning patterns. Their cultures measured meat consumption in thousands of tons annually, primarily from cultivated sources or ethical synthetic production. The human figure represented not just different scales, but different orders of magnitude. Jake Morrison processed their reactions with apparent detachment, his expression suggesting mild confusion at their surprise. Just chickens, he clarified, as if this explained everything. Earthbirds, standard protein source. He adjusted his gear harness, apparently unaware he'd just described an industrial operation larger than some planetary economies. The alien cadets accessed their cultural databases. The files contained references to human dietary habits, but the quantitative data had been filed under historical practices or cultural anthropology. Not current operational reality. That represents one species, Jake continued, scanning the tree line while speaking. We maintain similar numbers for swine, cattle, various aquaculture species. He listed them like inventory categories. Total annual meat consumption runs about 350 billion kilograms. Rough estimate. Department of Agriculture tracks. He used bureaucratic terms that made the statistics sound like routine administrative data rather than revelations. About systematic predation, the alien cadets attempted to process the logistics. Their cultures obtained protein through carefully managed cultivation vats, fungal banks, or precision synthetic replication. The concept of harvesting living creatures at that scale invoked historical memories of ecological collapses long since remedied. Zara Lynn's voice carried vibrational distress. Your species converts other life forms into nutrition at industrial levels. Efficient conversion, Jake corrected, his tone technical. Poultry runs about 2-to-1 feed-to-meat ratio. Cattle worse at 6-to-1. We're improving yields through selective breeding. He discussed biological optimization with the dispassionate air of an engineer reviewing production metrics. Velp. Prime's low-frequency hum shifted to a questioning pitch. This requires specialized facilities, processing plants, distribution networks, standard infrastructure, Jake confirmed. Farms, transport, slaughterhouses, packaging facilities, whole supply chain. He said the terms with flat neutrality, apparently unaware how each word expanded the alien cadets' horror. Their cultures had abandoned such practices cycles ago, considering them ethically problematic and resource inefficient. Human civilization apparently not only maintained them, but optimized them. The conversation revealed a fundamental dichotomy in civilizational development. The galactic community had moved beyond direct biological harvesting centuries earlier, developing synthetic alternatives that satisfied nutritional needs without large-scale organism consumption. Humanity had instead perfected the harvesting process, treating it as an industrial operation no different than mining or manufacturing. Jake noticed their continued discomfort. Problem? The question wasn't defensive, merely curious. He genuinely seemed not to comprehend why systematically converting billions of creatures into food would cause cognitive dissonance. Tambor finally found his voice, mandibles clicking slowly. Our ethical frameworks. Such mass consumption of biological entities. Ethics committees oversee standards, Jake said, as if this resolved all concerns. Humane treatment protocols, waste reduction initiatives. He framed systematic predation as a managed industrial process subject to quality control and regulatory oversight. The alien cadets realized that from Jake's perspective, they weren't discussing morality. They were discussing production management. The jungle seemed suddenly quieter, as if the entire ecosystem had paused to consider the implications. The alien cadets looked at Jake with renewed assessment. They had been trained to evaluate threats based on military capability or technological advancement. They now confronted a different kind of threat assessment, a species that approached biological resources with the same systematic efficiency that others applied to mineral extraction. Humanity's relationship with other life forms wasn't just different in scale, but in fundamental philosophy. They optimized consumption rather than seeking alternatives. The conversation drifted from nutritional logistics to cultural practices. Alien traditions regarding predation varied widely across species. Some viewed it as historical necessity, others as barbarism best forgotten. None maintained ongoing rituals celebrating individual hunting achievements. Their cultures had moved beyond such practices cycles ago. Jake's confirmation landed with unsettling simplicity. Trophy preparation, yeah. Some hunters do that. He used the term like referencing a common hobby. Mounting heads on walls, preserving hides, that sort of thing. The alien cadets processed this through their ethical frameworks. Their cultures preserved artifacts, artworks, technological achievements, not biological remains. Velp Prime's vocalizer emitted a low-frequency query that made the surrounding foliage vibrate. You preserve the physical remnants of creatures killed for sport. You display them in living spaces. The statement wasn't accusatory, merely analytical. This constitutes decoration derived from lethal encounters. Jake nodded, adjusting a snare line. Commemoration of successful hunts. Demonstration of skill. He spoke without defensive tension, as if discussing architectural preferences. Some families pass down trophies through generations, historical records of achievements. The alien cadets accessed their cultural databases. Human files contained references to trophy hunting, but had categorized it as archaic practice or fringe activity, not contemporary custom, not something a trained operative would consider normal. Zara Lynn's dual pupils focused on Jake with renewed intensity. Your species decorates domestic environments with preserved remains of other creatures, killed not for nutrition, but for personal accomplishment. Her translation software couldn't soften the chilling precision of the observation. Complex topic, Jake acknowledged. He didn't evade the ethical implications. Ongoing debate within our species, cultural divisions, legal restrictions in some regions. He provided the information with neutral detachment, like reporting meteorological data. Some view it as tradition honoring nature's challenge. Others consider it unnecessary. He described the craftsmanship involved, taxidermy techniques, preservation methods, display considerations. The conversation shifted from ethics to aesthetics. Human culture apparently integrated biological remains into decorative arts with the same seriousness others applied to sculpture or painting. Tambor's mandibles clicked slowly. The creatures become artifacts, symbols of human achievement rather than independent life forms. Memorials, Jake corrected. Recognition of the animal's strength and the hunter's skill. He framed it as mutual respect rather than domination. The best hunters study their prey for years, understand its habits, its environment. The trophy represents that relationship. The alien cadets realized human culture maintained a connection to predation that their own societies had severed. Where they saw ethical lines, humans saw a spectrum of practices. Where they had unified cultural positions, humans maintained ongoing philosophical debates. Jake checked a snare's tension. Not my specialty. I focus on practical procurement. He drew a distinction between subsistence hunting and trophy hunting that the aliens hadn't previously recognized. Human predation apparently had multiple specialized branches with different rules and justifications. The conversation revealed a cultural complexity their databases had oversimplified. Humanity's relationship with other species wasn't monolithic. It contained contradictions, regional variations, and ongoing ethical negotiations. They had assumed human predation was purely utilitarian. Now they understood it intersected with art, tradition, and personal identity. Velt Prime's hum shifted to contemplative frequency. Your species maintains practices our cultures abandoned centuries ago, yet you advance technologically while preserving these traditions. Humans are messy, Jake said without looking up from his work. We contain multitudes. The statement sounded like a quote from cultural literature. The alien cadets added it to their growing file of human contradictions. They recognized that human morality operated within different parameters. Their own ethical system sought consistency and universal principles. Human ethics apparently accommodated paradox and cultural relativism. The same species that developed precision medical technology also maintained rituals that other civilizations considered primitive. The jungle seemed to watch them back, its countless life forms suddenly representing not just nutritional value or threat potential, but philosophical questions. Human culture had found ways to integrate predation into their identity without resolving the inherent tensions. They honored life through its consumption and commemoration simultaneously. Jake announced night watch rotations as the Verdania sun dipped below the canopy line. The instruction carried no particular gravity, delivered with the same tone he'd used for ration distribution. The alien cadets acknowledged with varying degrees of concern. Their species had different relationships with darkness. Some were nocturnal by nature, others completely vision-dependent on light. Their makeshift camp offered minimal protection. They'd arranged fallen branches in approximate defensive lines and hung bioluminescent fungi as weak area lighting, standard procedure for unfamiliar environments. The human took first watch without discussion. He positioned himself atop a broad root structure that provided elevated visibility. The alien cadets attempted rest in shifts, their sleep patterns disrupted by unfamiliar jungle sounds. Distant screeches echoed through the darkness, followed by rustling movements much closer than comfortable. Their sensors detected thermal signatures moving along the perimeter, larger than the daytime creatures, more numerous. Jake's voice cut through the tension during a particularly close movement. Nocturnal specialists, better hearing than the daytime varieties, more cooperative hunting patterns. He provided the information like a tour guide noting local attractions. The cadets remained silent, their rest attempts abandoned. The human's night vision equipment produced occasional soft green glows as he scanned the darkness. Dawn arrived with gradual light filtering through the dense canopy. The alien cadets emerged from their troubled rest to a transformed campsite. Where there had been scattered gear and makeshift shelters now stood organized systems. A water filtration arrangement used hollow vines and sediment layers to produce clear liquid that dripped into collection vessels. Racks of thin meat strips hung between trees, smoking gently from a contained fire pit. Sharpened stakes formed interlocking defensive patterns around the perimeter. Jake was checking the smoke density on the jerky racks. He looked up as the cadet stared. Couldn't sleep after my watch ended. 2 hours until dawn. Decided to make myself useful. He gestured toward the water system. Local vine filtration removes 90% of contaminants. Boiling handles the rest. The explanation sounded like reading from a technical manual. The alien cadets conducted silent assessments. The water system showed understanding of fluid dynamics and local material properties. The jerky racks demonstrated food preservation knowledge and fire management. The defensive stakes were positioned, with tactical consideration of approach angles and fallback positions, all constructed with hand tools and natural materials. All completed in darkness while guarding against active predators. Tambor's mandibles clicked softly. You engineered these systems without illumination? Without assistance? Jake tested a piece of jerky. Had moonlight. Had time. He said it like stating obvious resources. Human eyes adapt okay to low light, not as good as some species, but functional. He made no mention of the coordinated predator movements they'd heard throughout the night. No reference to the engineering challenges overcome while maintaining security. The transformation revealed a fundamental human capability they hadn't previously documented. Where other species sought security through avoidance or fortified positions, humans created functionality from chaos. Their instinct wasn't just to defend, but to improve, to engineer solutions from available materials regardless of circumstances. Zara Lynn examined the water filtration system. The vine arrangement showed sophisticated understanding of botanical properties. The collection method indicated knowledge of daily dew cycles. You possessed data on local plant characteristics before this exercise? Jake shook his head. Made educated guesses. Tested theories. Most plants follow similar fluid transport principles across biospheres. He framed biological engineering as straightforward problem-solving. The alien cadets realized the humans' nighttime activity represented more than mere productivity. It demonstrated a cognitive approach to survival that integrated multiple skill sets simultaneously: security monitoring, biological analysis, structural engineering, resource management. All performed under pressure with limited resources. The jungle no longer seemed like Chunquay to hostile territory. It appeared as a collection of raw materials awaiting application. The human had treated their survival scenario not as an emergency to endure, but as a systems optimization problem to solve. His nighttime work transformed their camp from vulnerable temporary shelter to functional forward operating base. They ate the smoked meat and drank the filtered water without comment. The human had converted night from a period of heightened danger to a window of opportunity. His definition of making myself useful involved completely restructuring their operational environment between moonrise and dawn. Jake gathered the alien cadets around a cluster of purple-veined vegetation. The plants exuded a faint acidic scent that made Tamber's sensory organs contract defensively. Their species-specific capabilities had proven inadequate against Verdania's biological threats. Zara Lynn's vibration blades couldn't penetrate armored hides. Nick Seven's evasive patterns failed against coordinated attacks. Tambor's defensive carapace offered limited mobility. They needed force multiplication. The human selected specific leaves with clinical precision. Local neurotoxin, he explained, handling the vegetation with controlled care. Paralyzes most carbon-based nervous systems. Temporary effect on large organisms, permanent on smaller ones. He spoke with the detached tone of a chemist discussing compound properties. The alien cadets maintained cautious distance. Their medical training emphasized toxin avoidance, not weaponization. Jake demonstrated extraction techniques. He crushed leaves into a stone bowl, added specific amounts of water, then heated the mixture over controlled flames. The process showed refined methodology, temperature thresholds, consistency checks, potency testing. He dipped a thin probe into the mixture, then applied a drop to a six-legged insect. The creature ceased movement within 3 seconds. Paralysis agent, not lethal toxin, Jake clarified. Ethical consideration. The statement seemed paradoxical coming from someone weaponizing biological agents. The alien cadets realized human ethics involved graduated responses rather than absolute prohibitions. He crafted spears from hardened wood, fashioning tips with razor-sharp edges. The wood selection showed understanding of material properties: density, flexibility, fracture points. Each spear received careful balancing. Jake applied the toxin paste to the tips with precise brushstrokes, ensuring complete coverage without excess runoff. The pasted tips darkened to deep violet as they dried. Pointy end goes toward the threat, Jake instructed, demonstrating proper grip. The dark humor landed awkwardly across translation software. The alien cadets processed the statement as both obvious and profound. Their training emphasized complex weapon systems with safety protocols. The human reduced combat to fundamental physics. He distributed the spears with serious deliberation. Try not to stab each other. The warning wasn't joking. He explained accidental injury protocols, pressure points, tourniquet application, antitoxin preparation from local plants. The lesson covered both offense and mitigation with equal weight. The alien cadets tested spear balance with unfamiliar movements. Their cultures favored energy weapons or specialized biological defenses. Primitive weaponry seemed regression rather than advancement. Jake corrected their grips with practical adjustments. Thumb here. Rotate on thrust. Follow through. The instructions were mechanical, devoid of philosophical context. They practiced against tree trunks under Jake's observation. His critiques focused on efficiency rather than style. Waste less motion. Recover faster. Watch your spacing. The training felt elementary compared to their advanced combat simulations, yet somehow more immediate. The weight of wood in their hands carried different psychological impact than energy weapon grips. The poison tips glinted dully in the filtered jungle light. Each spear represented calculated escalation, non-lethal deterrence with permanent consequences if misapplied. The alien cadets understood they now possessed real defensive capability, but also increased responsibility. Their actions could now cause lasting harm beyond simple repulsion. Jake surveyed their practiced movements with analytical detachment. Adequate for initial deployment. The assessment wasn't praising, merely factual. He positioned them in defensive formation drills, emphasizing interlocking fields of coverage. The spears changed their posture from fearful to assertive. The weapons felt both primitive and profoundly dangerous. The jungle seemed to watch their preparations with renewed interest. Predator calls echoed from deeper vegetation, testing the changed energy around the camp. The alien cadets gripped their spears with growing confidence. For the first time, they weren't just avoiding threats, they were establishing credible deterrence. The human knowledge had provided not just tools, but tactical repositioning. The predators came at high sun when the light cut sharp through the canopy. 5 six-legged hunters with striped hides and forward-facing optical clusters. They moved with coordination that suggested tactical awareness. Flanking positions established without audible communication. The alien cadets registered the threat through their respective sensory inputs: Tambor's vibration detection, Zara Lynn's motion tracking, Nick Seven's thermal imaging. Their responses followed trained protocols: defensive postures, threat assessment scans, positioning for evasion. Tambor attempted an intercept maneuver, his carapace providing some protection but his combat training being largely theoretical. He moved to block the lead predator's advance, his spear held in unfamiliar grip. The creature ignored his defensive stance, calculating angles and vulnerabilities with unsettling intelligence. Its lunge bypassed Tambor's guard with efficient motion. Jake's intervention was neither dramatic nor hesitant. A single step forward, spear extended in precise thrust that intercepted the creature's path without attempting lethal contact. The poisoned tip grazed armored hide, leaving a violet streak across the patterning. The predator recoiled with surprised agitation, its coordinated advance disrupted. The other 4 hesitated, their attack rhythm broken. The human didn't pause for assessment. His second motion was a calculated disabling strike to the lead creature's primary weight-bearing limb. The poison took immediate effect, the muscle seizing with violent contraction. The predator collapsed sideways, emitting a choked vocalization that was neither roar nor whimper. Its companions froze momentarily, reassessing. Form a circle, back to back. Do not let them separate us. Jake's command cut through the adrenaline haze. The alien cadets moved with instinctive obedience, their training overriding panic. They positioned spears outward, creating a defensive perimeter with interlocking fields of coverage. The predators circled, their movements still coordinated but now cautious. Zara Lynn's analytical tones cut through the tension. Their assault patterns indicate pack intelligence. Flanking maneuvers suggest tactical communication. Her vibration sensors detected subsonic pulses passing between the creatures. They weren't just hunting, they were strategizing. Jake maintained spear position without visible strain. They're smart, but they've never hunted anything like us before. The statement carried no boast, merely factual observation. The predators were accustomed to prey that fought or fled. They weren't prepared for opponents who formed defensive structures and used coordinated poison weapons. The standoff continued for 7.3 minutes by Tambor's internal chronometer. The predators tested the perimeter with probing attacks, finding spear points awaiting each approach. The poison's effect on their packmate became increasingly evident. The creature now dragged its paralyzed limb, vocalizations shifting from aggressive to distressed. The pack's coordination began fragmenting as individual survival instincts overrode group strategy. Jake's voice remained calm during the tense silence between attacks. Watch the left flank. They're communicating through ground vibrations. He'd apparently detected the same subsonic pulses as Zara Lynn's specialized equipment. The alien cadets adjusted their positioning, spears angled toward the indicated direction. The predators made one final coordinated rush, all four attacking simultaneously from different vectors. The alien cadets responded with trained precision, their spears finding targets without requiring lethal force. Poison tips scratched armor plating, delivered measured doses. The creatures recoiled from the unfamiliar sensation, not impact pain but neurological disruption. The pack broke formation after that. They retrieved their disabled member with surprising cooperation, dragging the paralyzed creature back into the undergrowth. Their retreat was orderly, but clearly reconsidering the engagement's cost-benefit analysis. The clearing fell silent except for the cadets' regulated breathing and the fading sounds of departure. They maintained defensive formation for 3 additional minutes until Jake gave the stand-down command. His assessment was typically understated. Nice defensive formation, nobody panicked too badly. The praise acknowledged their collective performance without exaggeration. The encounter represented more than successful defense. It demonstrated that human tactical thinking could be transmitted across species lines. The alien cadets had applied primitive weapons with sophisticated coordination, turning individual vulnerability into collective strength. They'd witnessed how human methodology transformed survival scenarios from passive endurance into active negotiation. The jungle watched their lowered spears with renewed respect. Predator calls continued in the distance, but now carried different tonal qualities, assessment rather than assurance. The cadets understood they had fundamentally altered the local power dynamic. They were no longer just potential prey. They'd become a calculated risk. Jake's movements during the predator engagement revealed structured methodology rather than instinctive reaction. Each motion served tactical purpose with minimal energy expenditure. The alien cadets recognized professional combat doctrine, where they expected improvisation. Their species-specific capabilities had proven inadequate. Tambor's defensive techniques required stable footing. Zara Lynn's vibration blades needed clear striking angles. Nick Seven's evasion patterns assumed predictable attack vectors. The jungle's chaotic environment neutralized their specialized advantages. The human utilized terrain as tactical asset. He positioned himself where root systems created natural choke points, forcing predators into single-file approaches. He used canopy vines for temporary elevation advantages, dropping onto targets from unexpected angles. His environmental awareness transformed apparent obstacles into strategic benefits. The alien cadets noted he never moved without assessing multiple exit routes and potential weapon sources. His spear work demonstrated formal training. Thrusting motions followed precise biomechanical principles: weight transfer through the hips, arm extension along center line, follow-through maintaining balance. No slashing or wild swings. Each strike targeted specific physiological vulnerabilities: joint capsules, nerve clusters, muscle insertion points. The technique prioritized disabling efficiency over dramatic effect. The poison application enhanced this methodology, allowing minimal contact for maximum impact. Neurotoxin effects manifested within 47 seconds of contact. Paralysis progressed from localized muscular seizure to systemic incapacitation. The human had calibrated dosage through apparent experience. Smaller creatures received lighter applications. Larger targets received multiple contacts. His approach treated the toxin as precision tool rather than area weapon. The alien cadets' medical scanners confirmed the paralysis was temporary for most specimens, permanent only for the smallest aggressors. Jake's commands during combat followed military communication protocols. Concise terminology, clear directives, minimal syllable count. Left flank, thrust low. Right side, hold position. Rear guard, watch elevation. Each instruction provided immediate executable actions without explanatory context. The alien cadets responded instinctively to this command structure despite interspecies differences in processing patterns. He maintained continuous situational awareness even during close engagement. His head movements tracked peripheral threats while his hands managed immediate combat. He registered environmental changes, shifting wind directions, altering light conditions, new predator vocalizations. This split-focus capability suggested advanced neural processing, trained through repetition rather than innate ability. The alien cadets began recognizing patterns drawn from deep evolutionary history. Human combat methodology reflected long development as both predator and prey species. Their techniques balanced offensive capability with defensive awareness. Their tactical thinking incorporated environmental factors as fundamental components rather than external variables. This was not trained behavior alone. It was embodied evolutionary memory. Jake's post-engagement assessment confirmed the origins of his methodology. Standard infantry training, modified for jungle environments. He described techniques developed across centuries of terrestrial warfare, refined through conflict and adapted to extraterrestrial conditions. The alien cadets realized human military doctrine incorporated biological realities that their own strategies often overlooked. The jungle seemed to respect this ancient combat language. Predator movements became more cautious, their approaches more calculated. They recognized the humans' actions communicated in a dialect older than language itself, the universal syntax of predator and prey. The cadets understood they were witnessing not just survival techniques, but the operationalization of deep evolutionary instincts. Human combat efficiency emerged from their dual historical role as both hunters and hunted. Their tactics reflected understanding of pursuit and evasion from both perspectives. This dual awareness created combat methodology that was both aggressive and cautious, innovative and time-tested. The alien cadets recognized they were learning from a species that had written the textbook on planetary survival through millions of years of practical application. The predators retreated with disciplined coordination, dragging their paralyzed comrade into the undergrowth. Their departure left scattered evidence of the engagement, trampled vegetation, disturbed soil, the lingering scent of alarmed biochemistry. The alien cadets maintained defensive positions for a full 3 minutes after the last thermal signature faded, their training overriding the instinct to immediately assess damage. Their internal systems registered elevated stress markers, but also something unfamiliar: operational satisfaction. They conducted post-engagement assessment with methodical precision. Weapon status checks, injury evaluations, environmental scanning for secondary threats. The protocols felt different now, less theoretical, more immediately relevant. Their sensors confirmed no serious injuries, only minor abrasions and elevated adrenaline levels. The defensive circle had held against coordinated assault. Jake moved through their formation with calm efficiency. He checked each cadet's condition with clinical detachment, his diagnostic approach blending medical assessment with equipment inspection. His hands tested spear integrity, confirmed toxin residue levels, verified physiological stability. The examination lasted precisely 47 seconds per individual. His debrief came without preamble. Nice defensive formation. Nobody panicked too badly. The understated praise acknowledged their collective performance without exaggeration. The alien cadets processed the words through their respective cultural frameworks. Among their species, successful combat operations typically received elaborate commendations or ceremonial recognition. Jake's quiet acknowledgement carried more weight through its simplicity. Tambor's mandibles clicked softly. Your intervention was necessary during the initial assault. Our defensive capabilities proved inadequate. Jake shook his head without looking up from inspecting a spear tip. Team effort. You held formation under pressure. That's the hard part. He reframed their contribution as essential rather than supplemental. The alien cadets realized human leadership emphasized collective achievement over individual heroics. The encounter solidified Jake's position through demonstrated competence rather than asserted authority. His actions during the attack had shown tactical awareness. His preparation had provided effective tools. His post-combat assessment focused on improvement rather than criticism. The alien cadets began instinctively looking to him for direction, without conscious decision. Their awe manifested as recalibrated understanding, rather than vocal admiration. They recognized that human capabilities represented evolutionary adaptation, rather than mere training. Jake's performance wasn't exceptional by human standards, it was typical. This realization carried profound implications for interspecies relations. Zara Lynn's dual eyes tracked Jake's movements with analytical intensity. Your species operates with inherent environmental mastery we lack. Your neural processing integrates threat assessment, tactical planning, and mechanical execution simultaneously. Jake considered this while cleaning toxin residue from a spear. Lots of practice. Your ancestors built cities. Ours hunted mammoths. The historical reference translated awkwardly, but conveyed the essential difference in evolutionary paths. The alien cadets began appreciating the depth of human resilience. Their own survival training focused on avoiding danger. Jake's methodology involved managing danger through constant adaptation. His approach treated hostile environments as complex systems to be understood and utilized, rather than simple threats to be avoided. They developed renewed situational awareness, scanning their surroundings with different parameters. Instead of simply identifying threats, they now assessed resource potential, defensive advantages, and tactical opportunities. The jungle transformed from terrifying wilderness into challenging terrain. The group's cohesion strengthened through shared accomplishment. Their initial collection of disparate species now functioned as a coordinated unit. Communication became more efficient, movements more synchronized, trust more established. They had survived their first real test not as individuals but as team. Jake finished his equipment checks and surveyed the perimeter. Right. Now let's talk about improving these defensive positions. He framed the successful defense as starting point rather than conclusion. The alien cadets adjusted their posture from relieved to attentive. The human definition of survival involved continuous improvement rather than simple endurance. Velp Prime's vocalizer emitted a curious frequency during a lull in jungle activity. The question emerged with genuine inquiry rather than challenge. What do humans do when not engaged in survival scenarios? Your recreational activities must differ significantly from these conditions. The alien cadets turned attention toward Jake, their perspective limited to crisis interaction and tactical demonstrations. They had witnessed human operational capability but understood nothing of voluntary human behavior. Jake considered the question while maintaining perimeter watch. His answer came with casual familiarity, as if discussing weather patterns. Lots of things: sports, games, endurance challenges. He listed categories without particular emphasis. Marathon running, mountain climbing, deep water diving. The terms translated cleanly but conveyed little context to species whose recreation involved structured simulations or cerebral exercises. The alien cadets accessed their cultural databases. Human files contained references to these activities but categorized them as specialist pursuits or historical practices, not common recreation. Not something average citizens would undertake voluntarily. Marathon running involves sustained terrestrial locomotion over 42-kilometer distances, Zara Lynn noted, her dual eyes focusing with analytical interest. Mountain climbing requires ascending vertical geological formations without assistance equipment. Deep water diving exposes organisms to extreme pressure environments. She recited the definitions as factual statements, unable to comprehend their appeal. Jake nodded, checking a snare line's tension. Some people do wilderness survival competitions for fun. See who can last longest with minimal gear. He said it like mentioning a popular restaurant choice. The concept of voluntarily entering hostile environments for entertainment defied alien comprehension. Their species sought safety and comfort during leisure time. Tambor's mandibles clicked softly. These activities replicate the conditions we currently experience. You pursue them intentionally during non-essential periods. Builds character, Jake said, the phrase translating awkwardly across cultural contexts. Good training, too. He explained how marathon running enhanced cardiovascular efficiency, mountain climbing developed problem-solving under pressure, deep water diving tested psychological resilience. The alien cadets realized human recreation served dual purposes: entertainment and capability development. Their perspective on human culture shifted dramatically. They had assumed humanity's survival skills emerged from military training or professional specialization. Now they understood these capabilities were cultivated through cultural practices accessible to ordinary citizens. Human society apparently embraced challenge as integral to daily life, rather than exceptional circumstance. Velp Prime's vocalizer hummed at contemplative frequency. Your species voluntarily engages with hostile environments as form of play. This explains your operational comfort during actual emergencies. Jake offered a rare smile. We like testing our limits, seeing what we can handle. He described how families might spend weekends camping in wilderness areas, how friends competed in obstacle courses. how individuals challenged personal records in various endurance activities. The alien cadets began to understand that human culture normalized adversity management. The realization carried profound implications. Human resilience wasn't just trained response, it was cultural value. Their society produced individuals comfortable with discomfort, capable in crises, adaptable to unexpected challenges. This explained Jake's unflappable demeanor throughout their ordeal. He wasn't exhibiting specialized training, he was demonstrating cultural conditioning. The jungle suddenly seemed less alien to them. They recognized that human presence in such environments represented cultural continuity, rather than abnormal circumstance. Their species retreated to controlled habitats for safety and predictability. Humans apparently sought uncontrolled environments for growth and discovery. Jake finished his perimeter check and rejoined the group. "Right, who's up for some recreational spear throwing? I'll show you how we make games out of training." The offer was made with complete sincerity. The alien cadets exchanged glances, their understanding of human nature expanding once again. They were beginning to comprehend that for humanity, the line between survival and sport was remarkably thin. Commander Vex Prime's voice cut through the extraction shuttle's hum with ceremonial precision. The announcement landed with bureaucratic finality. All 23 cadets had achieved full mission success on the Verdania survival course. Perfect scores across evaluation metrics: nutritional sustainability, defensive capability, environmental adaptation. The alien cadets absorbed the assessment with quiet satisfaction. Their species had never recorded 100% success rates on this particular exercise. The statistics usually showed 30% failure from starvation, 15% from environmental hazards, 5% from predator encounters. The commander's secondary transmission contained the contextual information. The revelation emerged not as celebration, but as administrative footnote. Human cadets did not participate in the Verdania survival course. Their training protocols utilized alternate environments classified under higher threat categories. The information arrived without emphasis, as if reporting routine staffing allocations. The alien cadets processed this data in stillness. Their sensors confirmed the transmission's authenticity. Galactic Academy records showed human trainees underwent survival exercises on planetary classifications they'd never heard designated for training: glacial worlds with atmospheric poison, volcanic zones with unstable tectonics, vacuum-exposed asteroids with minimal resources, environments where Verdania would represent recovery conditions rather than challenge. Jake Morrison's casual competence throughout their ordeal suddenly clarified. His unflappable demeanor during predator attacks represented normal human operational baseline. His nighttime engineering projects reflected standard practice rather than exceptional ingenuity. His tactical leadership during combat demonstrated routine capability rather than specialist training. The human had been operating within comfortable parameters while they struggled at their absolute limits. The galactic perspective on human capability underwent immediate recalibration. Their assessment frameworks had categorized humans as technologically advanced, but physically limited. The reality appeared fundamentally different. Humanity's survival skills weren't auxiliary capabilities. They represented core evolutionary adaptation. Their entire species maintained readiness levels that other civilizations reserved for specialized military units. Commander Vex Prime's transmission included supplemental data on human training environments. The description suggested environments where atmospheric pressure could crush standard shelters, where temperatures varied hundreds of degrees within hours, where native life forms made Verdania's predators seem manageable. Human cadets apparently trained without basic gear sometimes, testing survival through pure knowledge application. The alien cadets exchanged glances without vocal communication. Their internal assessments recalibrated all previous observations. Jake's cheerful pragmatism during starvation threats now seemed logical rather than irrational. His weapon crafting from local materials appeared standard procedure rather than innovation. His calm during life-threatening encounters reflected normal psychology rather than exceptional bravery. The survival course success transformed from personal achievement to systemic revelation. They hadn't just passed a difficult test, they'd witnessed the operational normalcy of a species with different evolutionary priorities. Humanity's definition of challenging environment, differed from galactic standards by orders of magnitude. The shuttle's departure from Verdania orbit provided visual context. The jungle world appeared suddenly manageable from space, lush, atmospheric, biologically diverse but fundamentally habitable. The human training worlds, according to classified specifications, were visible on navigation displays. Barren rocks, turbulent gas giants, radiation-bathed moons. The comparison was unmistakable. The alien cadets understood they'd been participating in what humans would consider intermediate training. Their successful survival represented minimum competency by human standards. This realization carried implications for future interspecies operations. Human assistance in crisis situations would likely involve capabilities far beyond what their cultural databases had documented. The transmission concluded with standard debriefing protocols. The cadets acknowledged with subdued responses. Their achievement felt simultaneously validated and recontextualized. They had survived Verdania through human guidance, but humanity itself trained for deadlier challenges without external support. The galaxy suddenly seemed both larger and more comprehensible. The shuttle's viewports framed Verdania's receding emerald sphere. The alien cadets observed the jungle world diminish with silent contemplation. Their survival no longer felt like personal achievement, but rather successful navigation of human normal conditions. Jake Morrison moved through the cabin with unchanged demeanor, stowing gear with the same efficiency he'd shown building shelters. His physiological readings remained within baseline parameters. No elevation in stress markers. No indication of exceptional effort expended. Commander Vex Prime's revelation echoed through their neural processors. Human cadets trained on Classification 7 worlds, Verdania rated Classification 3. The cognitive dissonance required fundamental perspective recalibration. Jake's performance represented standard human operational capability, not specialist expertise. Their cultural databases required urgent updating across multiple sectors: military assessment, diplomatic protocols, crisis response planning. Tamber's mandibles clicked softly against the shuttle's vibration frequency. Your actions during predator assault. Your environmental engineering. Your nutritional procurement. These represent typical human performance thresholds. Jake secured the equipment container with precise latch engagement. Standard field training. Everyone gets the same basics. He said it like confirming universal educational requirements. The alien cadets accessed comparative data on their species' survival training. Their programs emphasize theoretical knowledge and controlled simulations. Human training apparently involved direct engagement with lethal environments as standard curriculum. Zara Lynn's dual eyes tracked Jake's movements with renewed analytical intensity. Your species develops these capabilities through mandatory education, not specialized military induction, school camping trips, scout organizations, family wilderness vacations. Jake listed common cultural practices that sounded like survival exercises through translation software. The alien cadets realized human civilization normalized adversity exposure from early developmental stages. Their own cultures prioritized safety and predictability in childhood education. The implications for interspecies relations became increasingly significant. Human assistance during galactic emergencies would involve capabilities far beyond previous estimations. Their disaster response teams could operate in environments others considered uninhabitable. Their medical personnel would understand trauma management through practical experience rather than theoretical training. Velp Prime's vocalizer emitted a contemplative frequency. Your definition of normal includes competencies we reserve for elite military units. This necessitates recalibration of all interspecies threat assessment models. Jake considered this while checking a supply inventory. We're not threats. We're specialists. The distinction carried weight. Human capabilities could be viewed as aggressive advantages or protective assets depending on perspective. The alien cadets began recategorizing their understanding of human society. Their industrial-scale predation, trophy traditions, and combat precision all served survival efficiency rather than conquest ambition. The universe appeared fundamentally different through this recalibrated lens. Planetary classifications shifted in relative danger assessment. Environments previously considered lethal now appeared manageable with human assistance. Crisis response planning could incorporate capabilities that defied previous logistical models. Jake finished his inventory and took a seat near the viewport. Verdania was now a distant green speck against starfield blackness. His posture showed no particular satisfaction or relief. The entire ordeal appeared to register as completed task rather than survived ordeal. The alien cadets recognized this psychological framing as potentially more valuable than any technical skill demonstrated. The shuttle's final approach procedures created a subdued atmosphere within the cabin. The alien cadets observed Jake Morrison with renewed analytical focus. Their species developed social cohesion through different mechanisms: pheromone bonding for Tambor's people, neural linking for Zara Lynn's kind, harmonic resonance for Velp Prime's civilization. They recognized human social structures operated on unexplained principles that had proven operationally effective throughout their survival ordeal. Tambor's mandibles clicked with deliberate slowness. Your actions during the predator assault, your resource sharing during nutritional shortage. These behaviors suggest deep social programming beyond individual survival instinct. Jake secured a gear container with precise latch engagement. That's what teammates do, right? We look out for each other. The statement emerged with flat simplicity devoid of philosophical weight. The alien cadets processed the words through translation matrices that struggled with cultural subtext. The concept seemed simultaneously obvious and profound. Zara Lynn's dual eyes focused with analytical intensity. This represents formal cultural training. Specific ethical programming installed during development cycles. Jake considered the question while checking a storage compartment. Comes standard with the hardware. He tapped his temple with mechanical detachment. Doesn't need installing. Just activating. The explanation suggested human social loyalty was inherent rather than taught, a biological feature rather than cultural adaptation. The alien cadets accessed comparative xenopsychology files. Their databases contained extensive analysis of human conflict patterns, but limited data on cooperative behaviors. They began understanding that human resilience emerged from social interconnectedness as much as individual capability. Their survival advantage wasn't just predation adaptation, it was mutual protection instinct. Velp Prime's vocalizer emitted a contemplative frequency. Your definition of teammate extends beyond species boundaries. You included us in this protective imperative. Jake nodded without looking up from his equipment check. You were there. That made you teammates. The logic appeared absolute in its simplicity. Human social bonding apparently operated on proximity and shared experience rather than biological similarity. This explained Jake's immediate assumption of leadership responsibility. The implications for interspecies relations became increasingly significant. Human assistance during galactic emergencies would likely follow similar patterns: unconditional support for those in immediate proximity regardless of origin. Their crisis response would prioritize current need over historical relationships. The shuttle completed docking procedures with precise hydraulic sounds. The alien cadets remained seated as departure protocols activated. Their mental processes recalibrated all previous observations of human behavior. Jake's nighttime engineering projects weren't just personal initiative. They were expressions of group responsibility. His combat interventions weren't tactical choices, they were instinctive protections. His resource sharing wasn't calculated diplomacy. It was inherent social programming. Humanity's dangerous nature now appeared complemented by equally powerful protective instincts. Their industrial-scale predation balanced by systematic cooperation. Their trophy traditions offset by unconditional team loyalty. The universe contained fewer hopeless scenarios with such species available as allies. Jake stood as the exit hatch cycled open. His posture showed no particular ceremony about their survival achievement. The entire ordeal appeared to register as completed team exercise rather than personal accomplishment. The alien cadets recognized this psychological framing as potentially more valuable than any technical skill demonstrated. The hatch revealed the sterile lighting of the orbital station. Jake gestured toward the opening with typical understatement. After you, teammates. The term landed with perfect neutrality, neither familiar nor distant. The alien cadets understood they were witnessing operationalization of human social theory. Their definition of teammate apparently scaled effortlessly from small groups to entire species. They exited the shuttle with changed perspectives. Human social loyalty emerged as their most significant galactic asset. This instinct explained their civilization's rapid expansion, despite relatively recent interstellar capability. They didn't conquer through aggression alone. They incorporated through protective inclusion. The universe suddenly appeared more manageable through this understanding. Galactic Command's analysis of the Verdania survival course results created systemic re-evaluation. The assessment team processed 23 successful completions against historical failure rates exceeding 50%. Traditional metrics proved inadequate for measuring human-influenced outcomes. Standard evaluation matrices emphasized individual capability, resource acquisition, and threat neutralization. The cadets' performance demonstrated superior metrics in cooperative resilience, environmental adaptation, and interspecies coordination. The data demanded new assessment parameters. Humans represented a unique evolutionary synthesis of contradictory traits: predation instincts combined with social loyalty, industrial efficiency paired with individual adaptability. Their approach to challenges followed scalable patterns rather than specialized solutions. Where other species developed specific tools for specific problems, humans applied generalized methodologies across diverse scenarios. This produced unexpectedly high success rates in novel environments. Their recreational patterns revealed continuous survival training disguised as leisure. Marathon running enhanced endurance beyond standard physiological limits. Wilderness camping developed environmental assessment skills. Team sports reinforced cooperative tactics under pressure. Human culture apparently integrated capability development into daily life, rather than segregating it to specialized training cycles. This explained their operational readiness despite relatively recent interstellar presence. First contact protocols leveraged hospitality as primary strategy. The 60% success rate for nutritional diplomacy defied standard threat response doctrines. Human methodology treated unknown species as potential allies until demonstrated otherwise. This approach conserved resources, built relational networks, and created intelligence opportunities. Their default position favored communication over confrontation. Galactic integration strategies required substantial revision. Military classifications needed expansion beyond technological and numerical assessments. Human capabilities involved psychological resilience, social cohesion, and adaptive problem-solving. Their value as allies extended beyond combat effectiveness to crisis management and disaster response. Environments previously considered unsurvivable became manageable with human assistance. The final assessment recognized humans as specialists in environmental normalization. Their unique evolutionary path produced organisms capable of making hostile conditions habitable. This skill set addressed numerous galactic security concerns. Border worlds could be stabilized. Resource extraction could expand to previously inaccessible regions. Emergency response times could improve dramatically. Humanity's dangerous nature became contextualized within their protective capabilities. Industrial-scale predation ensured food security for growing populations. Trophy traditions preserved knowledge of successful survival strategies. Combat precision enabled efficient threat neutralization with minimal collateral damage. Their apparent contradictions formed coherent operational philosophy when viewed through survival optimization lenses. The universe's danger profile altered significantly with human inclusion. Planetary classification systems required recalibration. Crisis response protocols needed expansion. Diplomatic frameworks demanded adjustment to accommodate human social bonding mechanisms. Their tendency to consider proximity allies as teammates created unexpected relational stability. Galactic Command issued revised operational guidelines for human interactions. Their capabilities were to be leveraged rather than contained. Their methodologies were to be studied rather than restricted. Their social patterns were to be understood rather than assimilated. The assessment concluded that human presence systematically reduced environmental risk factors across multiple scenarios. The Verdania survival course unexpectedly became the most valuable interspecies training exercise in Galactic Academy history. It demonstrated that humanity's greatest value wasn't conquest capability, but survival specialization. They didn't dominate environments, they domesticated them. This skill set proved infinitely more valuable for galactic stability than military superiority alone. The universe remained dangerous, but human inclusion changed the risk calculus permanently. The universe remains dangerous in absolute terms, but human presence alters the probability calculations. Their contradictions form operational advantages. Industrial predation ensures resource stability. Trophy culture preserves tactical knowledge. Combat precision enables efficient threat management. They approach survival as systematic optimization rather than crisis response. Their social loyalty creates unexpected relational durability. Environments previously classified unsurvivable become manageable with human methodology. The galaxy contains fewer hopeless scenarios with such specialists available. Their value lies not in eliminating danger, but in redefining possible. They don't make the universe safe. They make it navigable through applied resilience and reciprocal protection instincts.